Why should the average person even care about evolution when it seems so abstract? We're talking about theological questions, biblical questions. Why should the average person even care?
Well, I think there are two main reasons. One is we as a species are just tremendously curious, and studying evolution essentially tells us who we are and how we came to be and what our relationship is with other organisms. And then the second one, and this is the one that I think concerns most people, is the practical one. Is there anything that evolution has to do with practical matters, with things like our health and our food and our environment and all of the things that we face? And the answer to that is a resounding yes, it does have a lot to do with it. Perhaps one of the most important is the fact that in this day and age, at least those of us who live in developed countries don't have to worry too much about infectious diseases that just a generation or two ago were taking the lives of many people. Now, certainly in other places of the world, they still do. The advent of antibiotics wiped out, and vaccines wiped out many diseases such as smallpox. Polio is much less common now because of vaccines. Typhoid, cholera, those sorts of diseases are much less common because of improved hygiene and antibiotics. And yet what we see happening now is that these are all caused by microorganisms, viruses and bacteria, that themselves are evolving. By using antibiotics, if we use them in a widespread way, then resistance to antibiotics evolves in those organisms, and we can look at the DNA and see exactly how it's happening. And so antibiotics that were once tremendously effective are now beginning to lose their effectiveness, and we have to come up with new antibiotics, and even then the bacteria respond to the point that many of them are now what we would call multi-drug resistant bacteria. And we're seeing diseases that seemed defeated at one point now coming back to affect us because of a very predictable trend in evolution that if we impose a selection pressure on an organism, just the natural process of variation in DNA will allow those that are capable of resisting that antibiotic to survive and reproduce, and therefore we see the emergence of drug-resistant bacteria.